Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. What is going on with the Browns coaching search could mean any number of things. As the only team still looking, maybe they weren't sold on any of the candidates, or vice versa. That, of course, would be an attempt to be the smartest guy or gal in the room, which history has already shown they're not. What I really think that means is that there never was a plan A, B, or C for that matter. And if they think offering the job to Josh-McDaniels shows they've done due diligence, they're wrong on that one too. Giving the job to Kevin-Stefanski brings along a better chance that he'll be more like the lack of success they've gotten from hiring first-year coaches. Other candidates signed by Haslam have not done well, obviously, especially as the new coach would be fighting his way through the dreaded rookie Browns stage. It also slows the search for a GM and a coaching staff. I wish I felt better about this search, except I've seen it before. Bud Shaw is here. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into its 24th consecutive year, and of course seen exclusively on cleveland.com. To my right, Bud Shaw. Not necessarily politically, but on my right.
Yes, I'm really straight down the middle. Now, this reminds me of the way the Browns are seated when they announce
New coaches. Well, they've had enough chances to.
I don't know if anyone got a chance to see what Brian Crane from Channel 3 WKYC, I'm a name dropper, put together, but it was that, what do you call it, like a montage or a continuum of Haslam talking about each hire and each firing over the years, almost to the point where he uses the same words. It's pretty stunning when you see it all together.
I had suggested at 92.3 The Fan that we play the tape of that same introduction, and the audience gets to guess which coach it was.
Oh, it'd be a tough one.
Same wording?
The only thing that would give it away is early on he said candidly all the time.
Oh, he doesn't say that anymore.
So he got that out. Somebody must have told him, you're saying that too often.
Right.
Plus, people are really thinking that you're not being candid. So when you say it, so he got away from that. But that would probably have taken in the Chudzinski hire, maybe the Pettine hire, and then I think he lost it after that.
I actually got an email. That they still do emails, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Somebody wrote me and said, candidly, time for you to retire. Okay, well, he's being candid at least. 216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at reallesLevine@gmail.com. Bud Shaw, WKYC.com, is with us, does a terrific job over there. And people can write in, help me out here.
Right into my reader column?
Yeah.
The You Said It column runs every Wednesday, and I accept submissions at bshaw@wkyc.com.
You mean
now, have I dropped
Shaw,
enough? Have I dropped enough names and email addresses and
we got to be here for an hour.
All right. I got more then.
216-575-0403. Before you get into your commentary, your opening commentary, what this time continuum you're talking about with Dr. Brown of Back to the Future, what do you make of it?
Well,
they do or don't know what they're doing.
It almost looks as if things have fallen their way this time. But the one thing I would say is this. If the idea was to get NFL experience, which is what Haslam said it was.
Correct.
And if he didn't specify that be NFL head coaching experience, but I think it's not too big of a leap to say that would be important too, wouldn't it?
Yes. Well, because we've seen what happened to assistants.
Yeah. So then they've lost out on the two guys with the most head coaching experience in Ron Rivera and Mike-McCarthy. And obviously Rivera was gone to Washington for whatever reason. I don't understand why he jumped at the chance to do that, unless somebody told him, Joe Gibbs or somebody told him that working with Snyder was doable. But for a guy with as well thought of as Ron Rivera, I would have thought that he would have looked around a little bit.
Okay, but those hires came so quick after the season ended. The Browns obviously must have thought you have to wait till the final gun.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, they had their chance with McCarthy. They talked to him first, and they could have said, "Hey, we're not letting you out of the building. Come here." Now maybe they weren't as sold on him, and maybe he had questions about the fact that the Green Bay guys that he knew were no longer really involved, other than Elliott Wolf. And we don't know. I mean, Elliott Wolf is being kept on, but being told that he can't become the GM. So
why would you do that?
I don't know.
I'll tell you another thing that I wouldn't have done. If the three guys that are left here, and you're talking about Stefanski, you're talking about McDaniels and Jim Schwartz, who popped in at the last minute. I don't think that I want Urban Meyer to be the coach here, but I wouldn't have just dismissed that out of hand and saying, no, we're not going that way, because if these other three guys don't meet the Haslam criteria, you may have to come back to Urban Meyer.
Yeah, the only thing I can think now, Les, and maybe I'm wrong, is that maybe Urban Meyer and Jimmy Haslam have spoken. We think Haslam asked his opinion about different things.
Right.
Urban Meyer must not have given off a vibe that he was really ready to jump back into coaching right now, because, I mean, let's face it, the Cowboys didn't jump at him. The Giants didn't.
No, and they could have hired him weeks ago.
The Panthers didn't. So, I mean, there must have been something there that led Haslam to steer everyone away from Urban when that question was first asked.
Do you think Urban just likes to see his name in print or on?
Yeah, maybe
on
he's
the
just
air?
really torn. I mean, look what happened to Cowher when he got into that TV job. He kind of started liking it, and I think Urban Meyer's pretty good on TV. So maybe he has some people telling him, "Hey, do this for another year, and there'll be more jobs open."
All right. So if you haven't heard, the Panthers have hired Matt Rule, his former Baylor coach. The Giants hired Joe Judge. That came out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and
he was a receivers coach for the
and
Patriots.
Special teams. And we're led to believe now that Rule found out that they were starting down the path with Judge Monday night, last night. So maybe he felt like there wasn't that job was already on its way to being filled.
How do you take that
I don't know.
you assume that McDaniels is the leading candidate from the Patriots? Turns out they pick a wide receiver coach and a special team guy and just kind of pushed McDaniels to the side.
I mean, McDaniels, if he was the top candidate, and we don't know exactly how NFL teams are looking at him, I'm sure that there are some that are still not very are wary of him after what happened in Indianapolis. But if he were
even more so in Denver.
If he were the top candidate, he didn't interview in New York or Carolina?
Oh, I think he was scheduled to.
Well, he's scheduled to, but he didn't.
No, he didn't.
So they filled it without even talking to him, is my point. And that's I don't know if that's a red flag or if that's just a situation where Dave Gettleman is the GM in New York and not a very well-respected one around the league. And maybe McDaniels let that be known that he was not going there to work with Gettleman. I mean,
well, he would get his chance to at least make a suggestion as to who the GM should be here.
That's correct.
You like that idea that you hire the coach first? I know there's examples that it's worked. It doesn't seem to me to be a good idea.
I still like a strong GM who is a football guy, and that's why I thought that they allowing Dorsey one coaching mistake would have been my choice, and I would have allowed him to keep building the roster the way he's built it with his scouts, with his front office, and I would have given him say again in hiring another coach. Now, I wasn't privy to those conversations, and maybe he was even, stumping for freddie-kitchens to such an extent that scared off the Haslams.
Could very well be. All right, before we get to the end of the show, it's time for you to give your opening comment.
All right, well, let's see what I...
Hold on one second. Here's Bud Shaw. Okay.
Thanks, Les. See what I can make up here. The Browns coaching sweepstakes seems like Josh-McDaniels to lose now. If the end for Tom Brady in New England isn't imminent, I think we can all agree it's near. McDaniels' star might not shine nearly as brightly with a new quarterback behind center, given the other holes the Patriots need to fill offensively. So moving on to a team with more talent at the skill positions than he's seen for a long while in New England would seem like the best move for him. As for the Browns, McDaniels coming in as the next head coach with a Patriots personnel man, whether it's Nick Caserio or Dave Ziegler or even former New England GM Scott Pioli, makes the most sense when selling alignment, as Jimmy Haslam is. That might even ease concerns among the fan base over losing John Dorsey. But as always with Jimmy Haslam, it's not so much what he does next that counts. It's how long he'll trust what he does next.
You said fans seem to be on the side of Dorsey. You still think that?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I do. I mean, I don't. People don't know. Again, we don't know what the dynamic was. Was he banging the table for Kitchens? Was he, or was he just demanding that he get equal say in the next coaching pick?
But if his guy was Freddie-Kitchens, that lowers his rank in the way.
But
NFL
I think the fans still
him.
think he did a good job putting the roster together,
well,
even with the mistakes that were made.
Yeah, because early he got it right, seemed to get it right,
and
then it faded.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got it right at running back, obviously.
Yeah.
I still believe he got it right-ish at quarterback.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I don't know about ish, but...
what do you mean? You're sold?
No. I've never used that word.
Well, you know, it's kind of right.
No, I know what it is. I just have never used it.
So do you think they got it right with Baker Mayfield? Will you say that right now?
Ish. 216-575-0403. Bud Shaw is with us, WKYC.com. When we come back, by the way, the Browns, and I don't know why they even say this, they want to have the decision made by Saturday. What's the hurry now?
Yeah, well, only for whoever gets the job to start putting a staff
together. To
find
a house in Strongsville.
Next to Bill Cowher.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. When we come back, there's a new man in the mix. Jim Schwartz used to be the head coach at Detroit. Had a worse record than Josh-McDaniels did in Denver. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This portion of More Sports and Les Levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct. East, west, or south. We'll talk more about them a little later. Birthdays today, January 7th. Johnny Mize played with the New York Baseball Giants and the Yankees. Pete Sakes, 1947. Alfonso Soriano, former Indian, and would have liked to have seen him be a current Indian, but he's not. Edwin Encarnacion, John Lester, and how about this guy? Lamar Jackson. I had a discussion with somebody about Lamar Jackson. I said, do you think 2 years from now he'll still be playing at this level because of the injury factor? And he said, even if, I think it was Doug Lesmerises who said it, even if he doesn't last 3 years, having him for this year and two more, if you could guarantee it, would be a pretty good thing to have.
Yeah, and even if he's only playing at 80%, he has shown that he improved greatly as a thrower.
No question about that. All right, Browns have some remaining coaches' interviews. Let's take a look at what they've got coming up. Wednesday, it's Jim Schwartz. That's tomorrow. Kevin-Stefanski comes in from Minnesota. That'll be on Thursday. And Friday, Josh-McDaniels. Already interviewed Eric Bieniemy, Greg Roman, Robert-Saleh, as well as Brian-Daboll. So we'll see. What do we need to know about Jim Schwartz? Here you have it. Began his career with the Browns as a personnel scout for Belichick and the rest of that group in 1993. Head coach of the Lions. And there you see with one playoff. What's interesting, he had a playoff appearance and didn't have a very good record. He's been the Eagles defensive coordinator since 2016 and won a Super Bowl, and that was in 2018.
Yeah, he was, as the Eagles defensive coordinator, he's a guy who's known to be analytics friendly, was back in the day when he was here in Cleveland before they called it analytics.
Isn't it funny that, maybe it's not funny, but it's sincere. It's funny-ish that you have Jim Schwartz, who's been around for a while, okay, came with Belichick with the Browns, as we showed, and had a little success, 1 year anyway, getting the playoffs with Detroit, but not much since. And yet he's been with Philly for quite a while. I'm not sure too many people knew that. I mean, we don't see all the Philly games.
Yeah, a lot of these guys kind of, especially the older defensive coordinators. We just saw Wade Phillips get let go. I'm sure he'll pop up somewhere next year, and people will say, "Oh, there he is."
Could he pop up in Cleveland?
I don't know. I don't know what his connections are with, with some of the guys that they're looking at, with Stefanski and McDaniels, and it's hard to know.
What is the lure?
He's a 72-year-old guy, I believe, which, as you know, is pretty young. But not that you would have personal experience, but I'm just saying some of your older friends.
Yeah, I have a lot of older friends. Some, believe it or not, in their 60s. So what do we have here? We got three guys. Is there some mystery candidate? I mean, I'm not sure why he had to announce who the candidates were, although the word would have gotten out. But is there some other name that we don't know about?
No, I don't think so. I think all along they looked at Josh McDaniels as the guy they would talk to late in the process because, first of all, they
weed
thought
everybody else out.
They thought he would be still
in a hurry
coaching with the New England Patriots. The other thing about him, I think, is that they also didn't want to lose out on interviewing these guys and then find out that late in the process he's decided he doesn't want to leave New England again. I mean, that was the Colts, they blew it by announcing that he had accepted the job. Like, they made the mistake of calling the press conference.
Correct.
But he had told them he was taking the job. And when he turned around and decided to stay, that was Chris Ballard in Indianapolis, who's a good friend of Dorsey's. I think there was a lot of the traditional guys in the National Football League looked at that and said, "Oh, well, okay.
Well, now hold on.
We're not going to trust this guy."
Why is that any different than Bill Belichick with the envelope where he said, "I resign as HC of NYJ"?
No, it's not. But Belichick,
Belichick probably said that was the way to handle it. If you really don't feel it, get out while you can.
I don't think anybody is arguing that McDaniels should have taken the job with concerns or reservations or not being totally in.
Right.
And that's why the Colts just said when he called, they didn't ask him any questions. Ballard said, "Okay, thank you," and he hung up. But he wasn't happy about it. And I think there are some guys that look at it and say, is McDaniels fully committed to coaching in the NFL right now, or is he still looking at the New England situation and thinking, we can make one more run here? I'm with the greatest coach who's ever lived, at least some would say. And I've got Tom Brady maybe for another year or two. And look at what's happened in Cleveland. I mean, everybody acts like, wow, there's only one job open. He should jump at the chance now or he's going to lose out. Look at what's happened here with this ownership. I mean, why would anybody think this is a great job, better than any other in the league?
No, they wouldn't. And although there are a lot of reasons that it is, there's one main reason that it isn't, and that's the history of the ownership.
Yeah. And now it's the only place to go. And now, to me, the choice for Josh McDaniels is now stay very comfortably where he is in one of the greatest franchises in the history of football, or go to a place that doesn't value its head coaches.
I said this last night when Doug was in, and I said, I stole from Anthony Lima. Everybody steals from everybody else in this business. Just want to make that personally clear. I'm just wondering if Belichick might have been so upset with Bob Kraft at the beginning of the year that now he's saying, all right, I'm letting all my guys go. I'm going to go. Brady's going to go. Good luck in rebuilding.
Well, I don't think Belichick is giving off the vibe that he's going anywhere. I think he's telling people that he's going to coach for another 5 years. So that part of it, I don't know what Anthony means. I understand.
No, he didn't mean it. I meant it.
Oh, okay. I understand by by trading Garoppolo for what looks now to be next to nothing.
Right.
And being unsure whether Brady's coming back. Would he talk last year or last time around with McDaniels in Indianapolis? He talked McDaniels into staying and said, "I will open up my process more to you, so that if you'll understand why we do this,
right,
this, and this, and what the salary cap implications of everything." So it was going to be almost like we're going to expose you to, PhD coaching in the
right.
NFL.
How soon do you think one of the Belichick kids would be touted by him?
Well,
do you think he's waiting to hand it off to him?
I don't know.
One of them?
I don't know how. I really, other than seeing his son on the sideline, it's Steve, right?
Yeah.
Who's I think is defensive coordinator right now.
Yeah, no, backfield coach.
Backfield coach. I don't know what others think about him around the league.
Yeah.
What's he like with players? Belichick had to get by the fact that he was awful with players. He was terrible.
Only for 5 years here.
Yeah. And then I think he learned his lesson. He's still very demanding, obviously, and that's what this team is now looking for. So I think McDaniels had that reputation when he went to Denver of being, a mini Belichick, and probably to a fault, but he probably has still kept some of that same, hey, this is the way we're going to do things here.
Don't you think it's time for the NFL and maybe all leagues like that just say, we're not going to find the next Bill Belichick, so let's not even talk about that. There is no next Babe Ruth, no next Bill Belichick, and so on.
Yeah, but it's too hard for these teams to fight the temptation. It's, Doug Peterson came off Andy Reid's staff, and
right.
Sean McVay, so when they see guys who have been around great coaches, they think, well, that gives them a leg up on somebody that hasn't been exposed to it.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-leslevine@gmail.com. Bud Shaw with us from WKYC.com. When we come back, we'll find out what has gone wrong with under the Haslams. I think a lot of you have some ideas about that. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 great locations, and of course you see them right there. West 140th Street on the west side of town. The B&B Appliance, the old B&B Appliance building in Euclid, and Freeway Drive, that's in Macedonia. So you can go east, west, and south, and you can also go to northeastfactorydirect.com. You're going to find the lowest prices anywhere. Why? Because Alex pays about 1/10 the rent as the big box stores and passes the savings on to you. Check that out at northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll come back in a moment. What's gone wrong under the Haslams as far as Browns fans are concerned? More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively right here on cleveland.com.
Celebrate NatureStone's 30-year anniversary with a free NatureStone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making NatureStone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
This portion of More Sports and Les-Levine brought to you by Tri-C. Time for a How Come Quickie. How come it'll be easier for the Browns to get Jim Schwartz than it was to keep Mitchell Schwartz? By the way, Mitchell Schwartz was named to the All-Browns Decade Team and the All-Kansas City Decade Team. I'm not sure that too many guys would have made both teams.
Yeah.
That's what you talk about. What's gone wrong with the Haslams? That's the name that sticks out to a lot of people.
It's not that hard to get named to an all-decade team in Cleveland. I'll say that.
That is true. All right, Joe Thomas and
he
Mitchell
deserved
Schwartz.
it, though.
Yeah. All right, so what has gone wrong? Let's take a look. Start with pat-shurmur.
This could take a while, Les. We have to be finished by 7, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Finished with a 5-11 record in that one season of 2012. Brandon Whedon during that time, 297 out of 517. 17 interceptions that year.
One of the worst debuts by quarterback and coach in Browns history. One guy got caught under the big American flag during pregame warm-ups, and the other guy got a 15-yard penalty for running into an official on the sideline. You can't make this stuff up.
Shurmur got fined, right?
Yep.
Or got 15 yards?
Yep.
That doesn't seem to be a fair penalty. You know, some of the radio stations used to make fun of him with some of the quotes, which were really unfair because if you analyze what he said, he wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong.
He would say something like, well, if you can't pass on third down, you got to run.
I know,
okay.
I know. And Haslam just said something similar during that press conference. He said, it's going to be the focus of the next general manager and head coach to win football games for the Cleveland Browns. And I thought, well, that would be good.
Yeah, that would be nice. Rob-Chudzinski was next. You see what he did. He only got 1 year, 4-12 in that year.
I've never seen never seen a player as blown away by a coach being fired as Joe Thomas was when he found out that they were canning Chudzinski after the first year. He couldn't believe it.
Mike-Pettine, how about that? Actually, I thought Pettine did a nice job until they forced Johnny Manziel on him.
Yeah, I did too. You know, here was another coaching search, fiasco though. He was somewhere around their 4th pick, I think, 4th choice. And while he was looking over terms of the contract as agent, they were down in Tampa trying to see if Greg Schiano was interested in the job. So
how'd that work out?
Yeah.
Let's then how'd this guy do? Hue-Jackson.
That's the guy they decided to stay with. That's the guy.
Well, that brings up the question, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
Several times. Starting quarterbacks included RG3, Cody Kessler, Deshaun Kaiser, and then, of course, Baker Mayfield.
And here's the thing that I'll say about this, Les. They're going to, if they get McDaniels, they will be able to sit up there and say, we got our guy. We got our guy. And
we couldn't get him 6 years ago.
They'll probably be right. But they got their guy when they hired Hue-Jackson, too.
I believe they said that.
I mean, that was their top choice. Everybody thought he would be good doing it the second time around.
Yeah.
That had experience with
Oakland.
Didn't you think so? Yeah, I did too. I did too. Yep, I was absolutely on board.
I'd say
with
by
that.
the first half of game 1, I might have changed my mind. But all right, now you have time to go down to. Well, there you see freddie-kitchens.
That name does sound familiar.
There you go. Let's go down to Dayton. We'll say hi to Dick. Dick, go ahead. You're on with Bud Shaw. Dick, go ahead.
I was thinking this is my dream. I'm thinking they should get Josh-McDaniels as a coach. What do you think?
I think it's heading in that direction, Dick. Yeah.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm hoping they get him. A season with so much promise. I mean, to get humiliated like they did in 3 games, and I was surprised that they didn't give Dorsey long enough time,
Well, I think they were attached at the hip, don't you think, Bud?
I think part of it was that they decided that they didn't want to marry a GM that a coach didn't necessarily want to and a head coach that that maybe the GM didn't get the pick, and they didn't want to stick those two together and hope for the best. So they decided it would be a cleaner break if they blew Dorsey out, and now they can turn to a coach and say, you come work for us, and you'll have a say in the guy in the personnel department that you get to work with.
Yeah, but that doesn't spell out anything else about that particular job, and
No.
how much do you have to answer to the owner on a week-to-week basis?
Exactly. That's always
Or day-to-day basis,
It's always been
maybe.
the question here. But yeah, I think he's a guy that they really want. I think he's probably their first choice, and if he decides to stay in New England, then I would suspect they'll turn to Kevin-Stefanski, who they
Dick, what
liked last year.
impresses you most about McDaniels?
I don't know. I just think, he's, I don't know. I think he could be the coach. I'm glad the Patriots did made it. I was sort of always a Bill Belichick fan, but
Right.
I just think he would, add a lot to the table. And I wanted to tell you, Bud and Les, girlfriend got me the book. You got to get the book, 101 Things You Got to Know About the Browns by Zach Jackson.
Okay.
Oh, there's a plug.
That's a good book, and you know who I like, what they honored in there? I didn't get to hear it much. My radio was busted on my car, but they paid a lot of tribute to Jimmy Donovan and the voice of the Browns, Doug Deacon,
Well, they do a
They're
terrific job.
legends up there.
Yeah, they are. Okay, great to talk to you. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You've gotten to know Jim better probably this year than you ever knew him before.
Yeah, I have, and people hear him and they think, well, that's his job, but he was really emotionally invested in this team this year, in believing that this was going to be the year that they were an entertaining product and the kind of team that could get everybody in this town excited and give them what they deserved after all these bad years. And he was really crushed when it became apparent that wasn't going to happen.
This segment of More Sports and Les Levine brought to you by Tri-C. Explore your interests. Find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses in over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu to find out more information. We'll come back. Much more to do tonight. We'll talk about Kevin Love and whatever the Cavs are doing. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history. January 7th, 1963, Art Modell fires Paul Brown. Later, he would fire Bill Belichick, arguably number one or number two. And just for the record, he also fired Nick Squirch. You know,
That's quite a record.
When Modell, first of all, when Modell fired Brown, newspapers, as you know, were much more important than at that point. Everybody's news depended on the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
The Cleveland newspapers were on strike, and that's when Paul decided to do that. So it would be like now if
when
you did that.
When Modell decided to fire him was when they were on strike?
Yeah.
Huh.
But that would be like now if you would fire somebody when all sports radio stations weren't on or they didn't have them. I mean, that was a big deal to not do it when things were more.
But didn't I hear you say on radio last week that that 64 team was Modell's? Had Modell's fingerprint on it?
I think the discussion is when do you cut it off? Like, people have always said he should have never fired Paul Brown, and that championship wasn't his anyway. At what point do you say it is?
Well, I don't know. You were here during that time.
Yeah.
How many years? How much time passed between the firing of Brown and?
It's in 63. He got fired in the winter of 63.
So before the 63 season.
There was one.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one season.
So then they wanted in their second.
Right. There was one season of Blanton-Collier, which was 63, and then 64 they won the championship. At what point do you go from one credit to the other?
Yeah. I'm sure it's depending on how much you like the person that you're arguing for or against.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah, but you have to stop it and start it somewhere along the line.
Okay, so where do you want to stop and start that? Was that
Paul Brown one?
Was that Paul Brown's team in 64?
For the most part.
Okay.
I mean, Blanton-Collier was the actual coach, and who knows what Modell did. I mean, Modell wound up and made that trade, the Ernie Davis trade, which I had always been told, or just believed this, that trade was made without the knowledge of Paul Brown, and that was the crowning blow or the last straw as to whether Paul Brown
As
would
an
be here.
outsider, because I wasn't here, I would say that if an owner fired one of the greatest coaches in the history of football,
right,
and then won a championship, the owner should get credit for that.
Oh, so you're almost on my side.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it looks like from the outside, but I wasn't here, so.
Well, but then now let's go to Baltimore winning a Super Bowl with Art Modell. He moves them from here after the '95 season.
5 years go by.
5 years go by.
Right.
And it's still his team, right?
Yeah, it's still his team.
All right. Speaking of teams.
So maybe he should be in the Hall of Fame. Are we saying that because he's
No, he should not be in the Hall of Fame. If you can name some other owner or sports personality that ever got punched in the stomach on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I'd listen a little bit more. Wow.
Al Davis? No.
Commissioner of the AFL.
Okay.
How about that?
Pretty good, Les.
Yeah. Don't ask me what I had for lunch today. That'll be a problem. Kevin Byrne.
Kevin Byrne.
See, for those who tell them who Kevin Byrne is. And if that wasn't a Freudian slip, I don't know what was.
He was the PR guy for the Browns when they moved and for the Ravens when they got there.
And to this day, right?
Still is in Baltimore.
And a good guy,
yep.
despite what his boss did. That timing. So Kevin Love says he regrets his recent childish behavior. He used the word ish. So what happened here? He throws the ball at his teammate Chetty Osman. What is that?
Well, he was so tired of watching the guards just stand there and dribble the ball that he demanded it, and then when he got it, he threw it as hard as he could. It
was a quick release. You know, he always had that quick release on those rebounds.
You know, listen, I don't know what he was thinking when he signed an extension here. I don't know what they were thinking. If they thought that his contract was going to become easier to deal,
look at the numbers.
Once it was long term, it's not. And he's a player who's been injured a lot, and now he's got 3 years left at $90 million. Who's going to take that contract?
Nobody is going to.
They're going to have to give somebody draft picks to take that contract.
Here's the question. Now, you see that $120 million.
Yeah.
And don't you think that by Kobe Altman fining him $1,000, that's like either, I mean, but could you loan me a quarter? I got to pay Kevin Love's. You know, don't you think that's a strange thing for him to do?
Yeah.
No matter what Love did.
Yeah. Maybe that, I don't know the terms of the collective bargaining agreement. Maybe that's the limit.
Maybe that's the limit. $9.99. Yeah, let me get this out of my tip jar.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's in a bad spot right now. But again, it's not a spot that he was put into against his will either.
It's correct, and I just assumed that he'd wind up. LeBron would bring him, help him out in L.A. somewhere along the line.
It's still going to be tough to move that contract.
Yeah, I would agree.
And he's never listen. He was a big part of them winning a championship.
Sure.
In a way that we never thought we would be extolling him, right? That he jumps out and plays defense in a critical possession.
Yeah. When you think of him in his prime, and I don't know when that was exactly, but he had that outlet pass, which is as good as anybody since Wes Unseld, right? I just used a name nobody's ever heard of. But he did that, and he also was, what he was not was a great defender.
No, never was.
Had a good
when
outside
I think
shot.
of him in his prime, I think of him as a little bit bulked up, playing in Minnesota.
Right, going to the basket.
And being really a great rebounder and being a tremendous player in the low post and able to step out and shoot it.
So
Here
what do you
he
do?
just became more of a, because they wanted that, they wanted the floor spaced with these three-point shooters because they had LeBron.
Sure.
They had to keep the interior open for LeBron to drive. I mean, he had some really great games here and some really good games in the playoffs. But he never felt to me like that kind of guy that you would hitch your wagon to after LeBron left.
Yeah, and other teams look at him now and said he rarely can play 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
He showed a side of him that maybe they knew but we didn't know. So that's not going to help him if he's trying to get out. 216-575-0403 if you'd like to get in the last couple of segments of the show. You're more than welcome to do that. In the meantime, make your arrangements to go to Northeast Factory Direct. And all you're going to do is save money. You're going to find some of the same items you're going to find in the big box store. Alex started his business 20 years ago with just one piece of furniture. He found out that if you buy it right and sell it right, you can do all right. Well, that's what he's done. 20 years later, what a phenomenal business story this is in Northeastern Ohio. NortheastFactoryDirect.com or West 140th Street on the west side of Cleveland, as well as Lakeland Boulevard, the old B&B Appliance Building, and in Macedonia, Freeway Drive, that's the one to the south. So you got east, west, and south, Northeast Factory Direct. Sokolowski's University Inn, doesn't matter where they are, you got to find it. So many people coming in from out of town, the rave reviews that they got, what the business that they did, you know, the old Yogi Berra line.
I know it well.
Yeah.
I was there Saturday.
This Saturday you were there?
Yes, but I couldn't stay. I
So
couldn't wait it out.
You could have been there Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I couldn't wait it out because we had my my son and his wife in with their 3 little boys, and we couldn't stand out there and wait. But
phenomenal.
It's a phenomenal place, and they had been. I think they had had some special holiday stuff going on the previous few weekends, so that made even more people want to go there on Saturday.
Plain Dealer and cleveland.com did a great job promoting them. Sokolowski's University Inn, it's Cleveland's oldest family-owned and operated restaurant in all of Northeast Ohio, established back in 1923. No place better. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. We'll take a look at the Facebook question of the day. We'll also get some How Come Quickies in. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of January. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
All right, this date in Les Levine history, January 7th, 1959, Bud. Les's grandmother hosted card games at her home. Les noted that before the guests would arrive, his grandmother would put mirrors at an angle behind the players' chairs at the dinner table.
And you kept quiet about this?
Well, I did ask a question. It was a thing to do to ask, but not when everybody was there. I should have waited till the next day. Or my inheritance would have been bigger. Let's check out the question of the day on Facebook. Question of the day is, what has been the worst move in the Haslam era?
This is a great question. This might be the best question of the day that you've ever had.
Really?
Well, think of all the possibilities.
Oh, usually the answers are boring.
Yeah,
not
everybody agrees on one or two answers.
Glenn Berger, putting Sashi Brown, an attorney and salary cap specialist, in charge of the 53-man roster. Sashi was not a football man. Elevating Farmer to GM was a close second. Dan Sears says not letting football people make football key decisions. John Switt, I believe, buying the Browns, worst move for Browns fans, and drafting Johnny Manziel, worst move for the team, and the list continues and continues and continues. Jim Nargelli, Johnny Manziel put us back 5 years. I disagree totally. 6 years. Pal Joey Frederick, keeping Huey Loser Jackson for a third season after a 1-31 start. How could your start be 1-31?
I know.
Kevin Quinby, the complete instability. Chud and Kitchens were bad coaching moves. Removing and overhauling the front office when coach isn't getting it done seems unreasonable. Everybody needs to be on the same page. Anthony Prusak, buying the team from loser Lerner, Ross McDonald, when he purchased the Browns. Frank Marino says, I don't think we've seen it yet. Oh my goodness. The worst may yet to come. This sitcom just keeps getting better and better every year. Robert Miller, part owner of the Steelers, buying Cleveland Browns. We are seeing the continuous results. Let's get off this fact that he was an owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not quite true.
Yeah. No, but that was ballyhooed. I like that word,
yes,
by the way.
Yes, it was ballyhooed.
When he came here, because Randy had been such sort of a reluctant owner. He really was not, invested in time-wise in owning the team. And he didn't, when we thought Haslam was buying it, had been involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers and was coming over here, had been a big University of Tennessee guy, a football guy, we thought, oh, this guy's going to just throw himself into it and things are going to get
It did sound like a good idea,
better.
didn't it?
Yeah.
Especially after Randy Lerner was there and Randy had the money but didn't care about it.
Yeah, I don't mean that in a terrible way. I just don't think Randy, he told me once when he was talking to me that, that he was very content to be, when his dad was around, to fly in on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, it was his dad's dream.
He'd spend his weekends in New York with his family and friends, and he'd come in on Sunday morning, watch the game, and go back that night. And he liked it that way. He did not want to be responsible, and he told me it gave him a knot in his stomach, and I believe it.
Isn't it funny that he buys a soccer team, and then Jimmy Haslam, who bought the Browns, then buys the soccer team in Columbus?
So you're seeing some parallels, is what you're saying.
Ish. Yeah, a little bit. You can, by the way, if you can't get us during the show, which is from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, if you can't get us then, the other 23 hours of the day, you can call the voicemail of Truth and Reason and leave us a message. 216-200-6650 is the number to call. Call anytime, and we will record it, of course. And Bud, it's sort of new out of the 24 seasons that we're into. The voicemail of Truth and Reason is different, so I have to stop myself from arguing with the caller.
Yeah, it's a long tradition on this show.
The long year tradition of it all. I will come back. We'll take a look at some emails. We'll also take a look at some How Come Quickies. I haven't graded them in my own mind yet, but Bud will grade them. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of January. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, WTAM Radio, will join us on Thursday night. Hoynesy makes his return. We'll get him as often as we can before pitchers and catchers report. And so excited about what the Indians are doing that we can't wait for them to report. What are they doing?
They haven't done a lot, Les, compared to the teams in the division.
You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. As you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a list today of, the Minnesota Twins have lost some people, but they've also added. The White Sox have added.
White Sox are loaded.
Quite a bit of people, quite a number of free agent signings and deals. The Indians, we know, have traded Kluber and basically have a new second baseman and a relief pitcher.
Let's go to our friend Devin, who's in Concord. Devin, how are you?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Devin?
Same old.
Oh, it's a same old thing, different day, right?
Yep.
Are you calling the stump for Kevin-Stefanski?
One of my kids' games again.
I missed that.
Sorry, say that again.
I saw your Nature Stone boy at one of my son's basketball games again.
Yeah. And you know and my nephew?
Yes. I actually, great guy. My wife had a 10, 13-year-old boy sleepover the other night. That was a lot of fun, Les. Do you remember those days?
No, I don't remember much of those days at all, now that I think about it.
And he was one of them. So it's like
my nephew was, or my nephew's son was?
Yeah, go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, never mind.
And they wanted to go walking out on the golf course at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, you know how it is when you're 13? I mean, it is what it is.
Well, when you know somebody that's rich enough to live on a golf course, that sounds like a first world problem to me.
Hey, I'm not Randy Lerner. I'm not flying in on weekends.
I lived across the street from a golf course, but that had nothing to do with my ability to pay for anything.
Yeah. Hey, so honestly, who's your pick out of these three?
I can't believe it would be anybody but McDaniels, but who knows?
Yeah,
who do you guys want?
Of the guys that are left, or who did I want when it started?
Just anybody, yeah. Both, basically.
I wanted McCarthy when it started.
Right, as did I.
Yeah,
I would have settled for. I would have taken Rivera also. I just want a guy who's done it before, who knows how to deal with guys that are unhappy when they're not getting the ball, that they've been in big situations before. I like all of that after what we've gone through, but that didn't work out. So of the people who are left, I think Josh-McDaniels would be my choice.
What about you, Les?
I feel the same way. I have questions about it, but I don't like the pool here.
But, the only thing about Josh McDaniels is, and I can't get this out of my head, when he had that disaster in Denver, I remember I was listening to an interview. It was like Carl Mecklenburg or Randy Gradishar, one of those old-time Denver guys. And he's saying, hey, the guy is a great offensive mind. He prepares the team. He goes, he walks into a locker room, though, and he can't lead the guys.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Can't do it.
Yeah, but that's how many years ago? That's 10 years ago, right?
Right. You hope that has changed.
Yeah. Hey, nobody would say. Wait. Nobody would say. Nobody would say that Belichick was that kind of guy either.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I read something on him, this book about Ray Perkins. So he's working under Ray Perkins, right? And he's like a special teams assistant or something. And he's like that little nerdy guy, Belichick, right? And so, Ray Perkins says, look, you got to stand up to these guys. You can't let them walk over you. So he goes into a room, and, you know, they're just making fun of him and stuff. And then he calls this one guy out. He puts the play on the screen, and he just starts ripping him in front of the whole room.
Sounds
just
like
piling on him. See what you did here? Did you see this? You did this again here. Back towards it to another play. You blew this one, too. And I guess it was like after that, he kind of gained some respect.
Well, you know, so I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why I know that's true. Because I had a long meeting with Belichick in '93, I think, before the '94 season. And I had a list of questions about certain things that were done, certain plays that were called in situations. And he either just knew that I was going to ask them or is prepared in case I asked them. Now we're talking 20, however many years ago it was. I'd ask a question about a certain play and how they use the clock, and boom, he went right to the play on tape, which is easier to do now.
Yeah.
But he was totally prepared, and I was the least of his problems.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and like, you know, this is the thing that, and like I said, I don't know if I told you, I like Schwartz. Mm-hmm. You know, Schwartz went through that whole Belichick thing, and Belichick did nothing but praise him.
Right.
And maybe he learned from the Detroit deal.
Yeah.
He would walk in and be able to control the room.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bud, I don't have to tell you, I mean, you had to love what he did on D over there in Philly.
Sure.
All right. Hey, Devin, unfortunately, I got to go. May the Schwartz be with you, though.
I gotcha. All right.
Thanks.
Take care, Devin.
You too. Tom Randazzo says, listen, Bud, whoever takes the Browns job should demand a 7-year contract. Maybe that'll keep Haslam from the quick hook. Maybe. Maybe not.
Money is no object, obviously.
This from Mike in Grafton. When you draft poorly and bring in other teams' troublemakers and then couple that with poor leadership, you're going to fail every time. Toledo Mike says, how come when asked where he learned to dance so well, Bob Hope said waiting for the bathroom. He apparently had 7 brothers. I wasn't aware of that at all.
That took a little too long to explain.
Yeah, I shouldn't have never used it. I'd like to apologize. Big Ed, what are you giving it?
6.5.
6.5. Big Ed says, how come they print do not turn upside down on the bottom of boxes?
I think I've heard that one
before. Well, of course, you've heard all of these.
Yeah, so 6.6.
Hold on, timeout. How many timeouts do I have left?
You're down to
This
2
is
minutes.
a derivative of one we've heard a lot
2
in the
minutes
last
and the
couple of
clock
weeks.
is running.
This from Bruce in Willoughby. How come on my furnace it says change filter every time the Browns change their head coach? I use that with cutting my beard off.
5-0. We've heard that one before.
Yep. This Mitch in Kent. Hey, Bud, it's Mitch in Kent.
3.2.
How come the blues guitarist was told not to fret and be so high-strung? How come they call them heated seats when they're really heated rear defrosters? Any number there? 2.6.
The first one was a pun.
I forgot.
I don't like puns.
I got so many different guys. They have their own rules for grading. I got to remember. Mr. Gullible says, how come when Cinderella's photos didn't show up, she said, someday my prince will come. I know there's a pun there, but it's a good one.
Okay, here's the thing.
Let me repeat it.
There's puns that I see coming,
right,
and there's ones that I don't necessarily see coming. That one I didn't necessarily see coming, so I'm going to not give it as low.
All right, try this one. How come we never hear about Bruce Lee's brother Broccoli? Another pun. They got it. Listen, there's due diligence on their part. They should know when you're going to be here, which, by the way, you'll be here next Monday instead of Tuesday.
Yes.
So get those quickies ready to go. John Patrick, hi, Les and Bud. How come everybody laughed when I wanted to become a comedy writer? Well, no one's laughing now.
You're laughing, Les, so I'm going to take into account that you're laughing, and I'm going to give that an 8.
Well, listen, as long as it's not more sports and Bud Shaw, that's a smart move on your part. Anything you'd like to add to the proceedings? Tomorrow night, the D-Man Dennis Manilow. Thursday, it'll be Hoynesy.
No, I would think that by the time we're sitting here next Monday, that we will be talking about the hiring of a new head coach, and that new head coach will be Josh-McDaniels.
And do you think the person who's in charge of printing up the calendars, like for the Cleveland Browns schedules with 16 games, on the 17th they will say coaching search?
Now, if they're not going to change coaches next year, that's my bold prediction for 2020 or 2021.
All right, that'll do it for us. Great job, Bud Shaw. He's as good as there is in this town, no question about that. I'll see you tomorrow night with the D-Man. There's nobody as good as him in this land. And then Hoynesy, nobody as good in Cleveland.
Wait a second here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was almost flattered there for a second.
We'll see you tomorrow. Of all the shows I've ever done, this is the most recent.